Okay, I'm not sure if the microphone is working. Is it? Maybe I have it shut down. Nope, it looks like it's working. I'm gonna check my phone so I can monitor my own live stream that if it's working or not. Okay, I see some people. Hello everyone, as you can see, this setup is completely new and I haven't streamed like this before, so if you can't hear me properly or if the sound is somehow off, please let me know. I can't guarantee that I can make it work immediately, but at least I thought that I should start like experimenting with this new technology and see how it does, because if I can stream with like a screen share, that gives probably a better view of what I'm doing at the same time. And I've seen some people comment that they wish that the live stream could be in higher resolution. I'm not exactly sure if this will be available later in higher resolution after YouTube has done processing it, but that's at least my hope for now. I think I'm gonna use this sky. No, should I use the night one? No, sky. And just fiddling around with the settings, I just was pretty sure that I'm going to give myself a heart attack. So I'm going to try to just relax with the illustration if nothing goes wrong, hopefully. But yeah, the settings in OBS Studio for somebody who is not a professional live streamer, that is a lot to take in. For example, it took me ages to just get the audio working. This is my workroom, and there's like a ton of blankets on the floor. It's a complete mess outside of the video frame, so that's why this is so cropped in. And the headphones are on me just so I can hear the music myself, so that I can paint. I have my phone on the screen, and one thing that I didn't know about live streams before is that the delay of when you see this video online and when I'm actually speaking here, it's quite long. It's I think 20 seconds. That's how long it is. And I think there's a setting that you can like increase it even further for some reason. See, I did the mistake of filling. This is what I mean by adjusting the setting of color drop threshold. I don't know if you can see on the screen, but there's this like ugly fringe around the edge. And this can happen easily if you don't pay attention to it. So I have the setting to almost maximum, so I can get rid of that ugly edge. And those can be really annoying later, especially when you're doing a graphic illustration like this one. And then in the end you notice that you have all of these weird white rings that you need to get rid of by hand. And it can just like mess up that whole clean look that I'm going for in this piece. I think it's cool that now I can like read the chat for much longer time period. Previously, when I was streaming using the phone, it was literally just 5 seconds when somebody would comment something, and if I didn't read it at that second, they would just be ignored. And I kind of felt bad about it. I saw that in some live streams, people were even like asking the question that is he interacting with the audience? I was trying to, it's just, you have to keep monitoring the screen at all times for it to make any sense. And as you can imagine, it's not easy to like get an illustration done and like keep your design brain on at the same time while speaking, which is obviously not my main language. But if these live streams were in Finnish, I think I would have a total of like 1 viewer. I was thinking about Finnish language in the beginning, that maybe it would be easier to grow my channel that way, because honestly I had no hope of getting any sort of like a subscriber base to this channel. Hey, to Norway. I wish I could be in Norway. I was there twice last summer. That was great. In Oslo and Trondheim. What was I saying? I completely forgot. So I thought that the channel would be easier to grow in Finnish, but then I thought that the maximum cap of like where I can go with it is so low that is it worth for something that is so niche like digital painting? I've been having some trouble sleeping because of all of the stuff that has been happening in my life this week, so I thought that the purpose of this illustration is to calm me down. And I don't know why I chose a new streaming method as a way to relax, but yeah, it is what it is. At least if I can make these streams work over time, it gives me a lot more like new possibilities on how to do the streams. Can you create your own brush from Procreate? Yes, you can. I have created my whole set. Also, you can now, if you have your favorite Photoshop brushes, you can import those into Procreate these days. Actually, from my concept art days, I have a huge set, and this might be surprising to you, as you probably know that I like to use only one brush for one of my more painterly illustrations. This graphic style is different. But I used to use like tons and tons of brushes, so I have like a massive Photoshop set. So I thought that like maybe I should bring that over into my Procreate someday and just see how they work here. But I was a different painter back then. I think it's much better to be more focused with brushes. But just as a curiosity, that if they, because I have been using them for thousands and thousands of hours, so I know like intuitively how they are supposed to react. So it would just be interesting to see if I import them into Procreate, that if they work the same way or if there's a difference, if they are worse or just different. I haven't tried that. I remember I was so excited about Procreate now supporting PSB. Is it? What is the brush format? Isn't it PSB? Anyway, the brush format of Photoshop. But then when the update came, I didn't use it. I even did a video on it, like how you can do it. But then I didn't end up using any of those old brushes. Maybe it's just because I have changed as a painter. Oh, that's cool, great that you have gotten over your art block, Ashley. I think I can't really say or speak with confidence about art blocks because I've had like low productivity seasons in my life, but I wouldn't call it an art block. Especially when life was otherwise super difficult, it just didn't seem like a priority to create art. I was more focused on taking care of myself. But I don't know if that's the same thing as an art block. By the way, if the connection cuts off, then there is this like one hypothesis that might be the cause of that. I don't know if I can like fix it live, but just as a precaution, maybe I should inform everybody that this is like the first time that I'm trying this, and I don't know if it's going to work. But this live stream is through screen share using Zoom. And I have the free version of Zoom, and I remember vaguely reading that there's some type of a time limit. So that time limit might end up cutting the stream after it has been on for 1 hour, but I'm only having a video conference with myself, so I don't know if that is the same thing. Well, myself and 59 people, apparently. It's still crazy how many people there are watching these streams. The first 3 years that I've been doing live streams, it was 1 or 2 or 0 people watching. So every time somebody comments that like you should have more watchers, just remember that it used to be a lot less. I think I need to use more fat nozzle instead of this splatter, even though I like this texture. But where is my fat nozzle brush? Have I taken it out from here? Oh, that's terrible. Actually, maybe I should do that thing right now, because it is such a tricky operation that maybe somebody can benefit from this. So if I go into spray paints, this is the brush that I usually use with the graphic style. I made a copy because I want to keep the sets the way that they are. And now I think you need to hold it a little bit before you can drag it. But this is the hardest part, targeting it to the right folder. No, I got it wrong. And now it's in the right section. Actually, there's some garbage in this folder that I should get rid of. If you have a specific style that uses multiple brushes, then I recommend doing this sort of like a specific folder for it, so that reduces the time of switching between the brushes, so that you don't need to go into the category section. Again, like with the color picking trick, this is one of those things that like saves you 1 to 3 seconds of time, but just over time it adds up, and it just makes the whole work process less frustrating once you get used to the faster method. And if you enjoy painting, then you are more likely to do it more. Hey to Bernie from Australia. So the screen sharing program is Zoom, and this is the free version of that. And yes, I'm from Finland. See, it's already so much better when I can see what people wrote 8 seconds ago. Small things. Maybe like deep purple for this tea could be good. Yes, I completely understand what Robin said, that you were intimidated by the settings. I was completely intimidated by the settings. I'm still intimidated by the settings, but I don't know. What's the worst thing that can happen? The stream cuts off, it's choppy, the audio is bad. Will it completely take down my entire channel if that sort of disaster happens? I think I can survive it. One thing to me that is probably the most difficult one is the audio stuff, because in OBS Studio, for example, some of the labels, they just don't seem that intuitive. Like, for example, some of the audio output channels that are labeled as output, they seem to be also recording some of the audio, and I just thought input means microphones attached to my computer. I can see the video from the corner of my eye, and it's strange to see that I'm looking at the past, what I'm just doing. Weird. If anyone wants to know what these flowers are, then I'm probably going to invent all of them as I go. This is one of the playlists that I have created for one of the music streaming services. Because I'm trying to save money to keep this channel going, I'm probably going to be canceling few of the subscriptions to music services. But this is one that I'm definitely going to keep because it's the biggest one. I should have locked the first layer, so then all of these copies would automatically have the locked layer. That's just one of those things that makes things faster. I'm not sure if I'm happy with this yet, so I'm gonna try to add some stripes to it with a pencil. Kind of a small line, but I think it's good enough. I keep turning this canvas so that I can do smoother lines. I know you can also put streamline on. But I've noticed that I just save more time if I don't always go and adjust the brush settings. I just try to create custom brushes that I don't need to adjust later. And then when they are done, they are only done when I notice that I don't need to go in and check them. So many of these are default brushes that are already free in Procreate. I have just tweaked them a little bit for this style. With copies, I usually go by the rule of 3 or rule of uneven. So I'm much more likely to do a set of 5 or 3 of something rather than 2 or 4 when I'm not going for a static, quiet mood. That's a lot of layers, so I'm just gonna drop it now. Especially with live streams, you have to commit to something. Glad that the pixel art tutorial was helpful to me. This is Cat Mountain. There's also a video for it. In the pixel art tutorial, it's so common that people ask one thing about scaling the artwork when it's done. I have replied probably to 30 people in the comment thread of that video, which is like easily searchable, that advice is already in the video near the end. There is just this pixelacky part in the middle, but I explain in the video how to do the scaling. So maybe I could have like structured that video a bit better so that people would find it easier. It's funny how often I have to say that like the answer to this question is already in the video, and it's better to like watch it in the video than to have me explain it, because you actually have to see it in action how the snapping and the magnetics work, and to find where all the buttons to get those settings right are. So in text format it would be possible, but it wouldn't be as clear as just watching it. There's something that is not quite working with this color combination, but I don't know if I should work on that now or just do more elements first and see where that goes. I can barely see my own line out. It's so faint. That's weird corner tension happening here. Maybe I can just squeeze it in. Actually, I'm not using uniform scaling. Oops. That's annoying to notice later. Did anybody notice that snapping is coming to Procreate? I can't wait for it. That will make this style so much more fun if I can snap layers too, not just text. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I hope layers will also snap. Just snapping to middle by itself is a huge help when creating different elements. I don't know what color I want for this. Something. Looks like candy. I guess the shapes are just mostly based on flowers that I remember. And sometimes it's just, this would be a cool shape to make. So I don't want those going outwards. It's like a non-graphic shape. Any suggestions for a newbie? Prepare for a marathon. I think that's the way that you should approach it. Pretty much the only time when people send me messages about how frustrated they are, it's always that they just started doing something and they had high expectations of what the illustration was going to be or what kind of results that would get them. And just having those sort of expectations will create the most anxiety, I think, for no reason. And I don't mean that like you can only enjoy painting after you have done your 10,000 hours. If you paint every day for over 3 hours, that is still going to be 9 years. So you don't have to be a master at something to enjoy it. That's like saying that you have to run 9 years before you can enjoy running. I mean, I'm super slow, but I enjoy going out for a run. I'm not going to beat anybody on a track, nor I'm going to enter any competitions, but I'm still going to enjoy it. So it's weird that people have this attitude that like, okay, I'm gonna paint for a hobby, but I need to be like world-class level best at it in 2 weeks or otherwise I'm going to get frustrated. That's weird expectations. Do I use clipping masks often? Yes. I used to think that clipping masks are kind of a difficult concept to grasp, but once I completely understood how they work, especially in Procreate, I cannot stress enough how important it is to know how to use clipping masks in Procreate compared to something like Photoshop. because you save an extra layer every time when you go for a clipping mask instead of a layer mask. But sometimes layer mask is the only way to go, and I'm going to use layer masks in this process as well. But it's definitely a super handy tool. Especially when you're merging down layer effects like I'm going to be doing in a few seconds. So I'm going to turn this into additive mode, and as you notice that this is super dark, I'm going to do a small blur to it so I get that fringe on the edge. And now instead of merging it down, I'm going to set it as a clipping mask first. So this is a perfect merge, but just to show what happens if I don't do that, I'm not going to set it as a clipping mask, and then I'm gonna merge down, and now you see that I have these like really ugly edges here. So this is why I did the clipping mask part. So not only can you save layers, you can make much cleaner merges with different blend modes. Yeah, sorry for the absence, it's just a strange moment in life. I don't feel like talking about that specific thing right now, but I will probably later. Wow, I love this changing colors, it's so much better. Yes. Yes. Okay, now these are colors that I can get excited about. Okay, now I feel more optimistic about the whole situation. So for copies, I'm using the original one because that has the most pixel information for transforms. This way I can hide some of that like really bright saturated yellow. Just let it peak a little bit. Okay, I need to fix this handle because it's completely different color range. I wish I had merged them earlier. Do they even need to be the same shade? What if it's just like more yellow. Not sure. I'm looking for a color, that's why. I'm a bit stumped on what to do with this. I think I want a gradient with this multiply layer from top to bottom. Also, I should probably be facing the microphone. I know that this one is really sensitive to which direction I'm talking. We should like get it here in the front. Sorry, this might cause weird noises. I've noticed that when I'm unsure of just what it is that I'm doing, I tend to go really quiet. And decide on a rim light color and do that in monoline. I could probably also use the 6B pencil for the same thing. I think the default 6B pencil is really good. I mean, for this, I'm using my own version of it, but the default, if you just want to have a pencil, I think it's a really good imitation of a traditional pencil. I think that was the first line that I drew in Procreate. I just picked a pencil and then I made one line. This was before I had an iPad, and that line was like, okay, this feels like drawing with a pen. Like, I'm done with my previous tablets. Actually, this is a really nice green. I'm gonna try to find a way to fit it in somehow. Setting these as clipping masks before merging for the same reasons that I mentioned earlier. I don't know why sometimes flip horizontal just doesn't work. Like I'm pressing it, but it's not flipping it. Let's not make sure that these eyes are the same eye. One thing I want to do for this moon is to have this saturated, bright edge color. Something like this. I know it's going to look scary for a while. I'll try to fix it. Color is just, I know what I'm looking for. I just want to find the right hue. Maybe it's like this. Okay, this seems like something that I can live with, but I don't like these two sharp edges here. I just want to have that chubbier moon look. Hey Phoebe, thank you for that thing that you brought earlier. I think that sounded really challenging. I hope you are able to keep making art. I can't imagine what I would do in your situation. And I don't want to speak about it on chat so that it's private. But thank you for sharing that. Wow, this is terrible. I thought this part would be easy, but it's not. Okay, so how am I going to get this edge of the moon softer? First of all, with this layer, I'm just going to try to end a line here, and then return. Okay, that's somewhat acceptable. Now if I just make a quick shape here, and kind of fake the exit of that hand-drawn line. And since this is supposed to be symmetrical, I should be able to do it. Why, for the love of God, do not these work? Oh. I can't seem to activate the horizontal flip. Somebody please. Write Procreate. Okay, now it's softer. It's such a small difference, but I think it's worth it. Now I might want to try to fade this by using it as a clipping mask and then blurring it into the background. I'm gonna put this layer on top of everything so that it can affect also the edge of the cup. And if I can see, for example, time for this stream. Yes, I'm at 1 hour point. I just need to hurry up and maybe I can get this done. Always the same thing. Around 1 hour point, I can almost expect that I'm going to be horrified by the time slipping away. And then I need to hustle to get the rest done. You would think that I would get better at time management because I've already done so many streams, but nope. Still completely overestimating my own speed. How do you get smooth lines with brushes? Yeah, just streamline. With any brush, if you go into the brush settings with stroke path, you have this streamline option here. It's set at 75. And the more you have a streamline, then you can just have smoother lines. That's it. I think it's also important to keep rotating the canvas in whatever orientation, it feels more natural for you personally to draw those lines. Okay, plate. I need to make the plate. I think I'm gonna set the drawing assist on. What? No. For this layer only, so I can make those highlights. Actually, I'm gonna use them on a separate layer. Not sure if I like that. I might use that for clouds in the background. Nope. For some reason, like when it's a live stream, it feels even harder to throw away ideas that don't work, because you have to constantly like weigh it against that the time limit. Is this giving me the amount of visual impact that I need versus just getting the piece done basically? And this I'm gonna set it as darken, so it cuts off that reflection highlight at the top part here. Well, since I need the advertisement money, I cannot say the C word, but it has affected my life a lot. So this is the room that I spend a lot of time now in. So I don't know if I can speak on his behalf, but it's affecting my boyfriend's life as well, quite a bit. Maybe I can talk about that later, when I get his permission, if I get his permission. The layer order is wrong. So these need to be behind everything. Perhaps even behind the cup. And same for these. now I need the plate because I want to hide all the flower elements behind the plate. So I'm going to need to have it, otherwise I won't be able to make those decisions. Just gonna put on the line art layer on for a little bit. I think in the sketch the plate is way too big for this small cup. So I'm gonna do it in a smaller scale. And I'm going to repurpose this oval shape. Just to see what I'm doing, I'm gonna put this into an inverted color, and then with uniform scaling, I'm gonna scale it to the smaller circle. Actually, if I want to get like super fussy with this, I will do even like one more of these. Or then I will do it as a clipping mask. Bitumen, that filling situation, I went over that in detail in the beginning of this live stream. So when the stream has ended, I recommend that you watch the very beginning of this live stream, because then I can show that there is like actual examples, and I zoom in on the screen to show how to do that. So basically it's just like hold the pencil on the screen and drag the threshold. It's really important, but I made the same mistake before myself. So once you just like learn that part, you don't have to deal with the weird fringes, because especially in this style, it's really important. Just out of curiosity, is anybody watching this on PC? I would like to know that what is the maximum resolution? Is it still, I don't know what it was for my previous live stream. I think it was 720. Still 720. Oh. I wonder if there's something in the settings that I can do to up it. I guess the thing that makes the whole settings like intimidating is that there's two sets of UIs. There's the YouTube UI for live streaming, which is different from uploading a video in any other way. And then there is the OBS Studio, and those two interact with each other. So that combination, you kind of like have to be on top of so many pieces of information to know how they interact with each other. Thanks, Marks. I'm glad that you're enjoying the brush set. I put a lot of work into that. Seriously. People were already asking for it like years and years ago. But I'm happy I waited for these like latest updates that have come to Procreate during the process of making that brush set. I was able to use those features. There's even one dual brush, I think, in the set. I wouldn't have been able to do that had I just released it right away. I think since I have so much space on the right, maybe I could do like second camera angle. It would be kind of overkill, but I could use my other camera for that. Whoop. This one has also a webcam mode, which makes it the most expensive webcam ever made. But for some reason, Canon has made this like odd decision that the webcam mode is only for North America because it's in beta phase. So for some reason in Europe you have to use the American version of the software if you want to make it work at all. I accidentally erased something. Oh, it's fixed. Maybe I could do a second angle on this this side of the screen so that I could have a view of the screen as well. I don't know. I'm talking myself into making this more complicated, which is probably not necessary. For some reason I'd really like to do some shooting stars, at least some stars. But I need foliage and stems for these flowers first, like those are like bare minimum. I'm gonna do the leaf now, just because I want to, damn it. Okay, so I'm not following the line art at all. Should I just get rid of it? So I'm doing a crop, and if you look at the color drop threshold, I have set it to over 90. So that way I don't get the odd fringes around the drop area. for the person who was asking it earlier. Can I repurpose this leaf? I think some sort of like dark, desaturated, greenish blue would be cool. It's weird how like overly saturated this looks like, even though it's nowhere near the area of green. It's just, color is so relative that you can't really pay attention to what its location is in the palette, but the more important is to watch how other colors interact with that colors once you put it into your own illustration. Because your eye does so much adjusting that in the end it doesn't really matter what the properties of the color are in the palette, just the way it looks in the end when it's in your illustration, and that can change drastically. Someone was like commenting on this cat mountain illustration earlier that is only done with yellows and oranges, and there is this character that is wearing blue jeans in the picture, and that blue is orange in the palette if I color pick it and go into the palette, and that is only because like it's made with relativity of the color. It's an illusion that the jeans are blue, but they are in fact orange. That's too shaky. The purpose of these pencil lines is to... Wow. Streamline 16. Okay, let's do 24. I'm way too anxious to get through this leaf. Okay. That's acceptable. So the idea is that I didn't get enough sleep, and like the anxiety is making it harder for me to sleep sometimes. So I'm trying to avoid drinking too much coffee, even though I love coffee. I guess this is like a cup of sleep-inducing tea. I like the flow of these lines here. Good job, Mikko. Now do the same thing for this. And then I'm gonna do my favorite thing, which is hitting an alpha lock on one of these seams, and then I'm gonna try and make some gradients for them, because why not? So because the lines are so active, and when they are hitting the cup, I don't want people to be paying attention to this corner tension, so that's why I'm taking out that contrast. Okay, it's still pretty bare bones, but I think I have like all the big elements now in the piece, so I don't know, I'm optimistic, it's gonna be fine. By the way, Phoebe, do you have an Instagram account? I think it would be interesting to see your artwork. Like, drop it in the chat if you can. Hey, Art with Flow. I think I've seen your videos online. Now for this I'm gonna do a mask. It's still as a clipping mask, but I'm going to use this layer to do like more highlights for those seams. I missed a donation. Sorry. I'm sorry. Can I scroll this thing? Sometimes I just have to paint. I'm sorry, but it's hard to multitask so many things. I think it was Phoebe who asked about blend modes earlier, and I've been thinking about that a lot since I think it would be a good idea to make a video on it. However, it's a huge topic, so and there are already pretty good, for example, instructions in the Procreate manual on how the blend modes work. So I thought that what can I offer myself to this sort of situation at all, and then I thought that what if I do a video on how I use some blend modes in practice, and for that maybe going through all of them would be just too much information to do in one piece. So maybe I could do one of those smaller videos where I go through, like for example, overlay blend mode and for what purpose I use that blend mode in my illustrations, just to give you some like practical ideas, because I saw that somebody commented that like don't you just scroll through the blend modes and pick one that looks okay. That sometimes works, and I'm not going to lie. Back when I was using mostly Photoshop, I did use blend modes that way, that I would just like scroll through them and see what works. But with more knowledge, I have now stopped doing that, and I have a reason for picking a specific blend mode, and I think it does help when you can just stop wishing for the best results or luck, and you actually have an idea of like why you are choosing one blend mode. And then you can also take it into account in the whole process, so you can, for example, go for a blend mode when you're looking for a specific color, or if you're dealing with a color editing issue, you know what blend mode you can use to fix it. I don't know how you feel about that. Just but just going through the list of, for example, all blend modes, I don't think it's even that helpful because I'm not using all blend modes. I could, for example, teach you for what purpose I use hard and soft light, but you don't see me doing those pieces on this channel. I only use that for like specific client work in very specific situation. So does it actually help you to have all of that information? I don't know. Like with basics of Procreate, I think for most people, they might be kind of overthinking it. What do you actually need to do, like your illustrations? You don't need to even learn 20% of the menus and what they do before you can do an illustration. And you're not going to do better once you know how all the buttons work. What is up with this quick shape? Is it an arc? It's a weird arc. So much trouble for such a small seam, but it's there. At least I can see it in the thumbnail in this stream, so it has visual impact. Sometimes if you're working on like one detail for super long, if you just like zoom out like this, if you can't see it, you probably shouldn't spend more than 3 minutes on it ever, or even a minute. But if you zoom out to thumbnail level and if you can't see the stuff that you're doing at all, I think it's good to ask yourself, like, is this worth the effort? Because an illustration is a combination of so many different aspects that just, even when you're not doing a live stream, just having priorities on focusing on those things that give the most visual impact. I think that's just common sense. But it can feel safe to work on a detail because it seems like something that you can easily control. I think I wanna have this stem disappear behind the leaf. So I'm gonna use the leaf itself as a selection. Where are the leaves here? So I'm gonna select this one and then go back to the stem layer and then erase it. Just making sure that I have full opacity eraser. It's like using a layer mask. You only need to have the edge available to you. This stem has gone completely off. That's also questionable. How do you edit a shape? That's a really complex, broad topic. What kind of a shape? Quick shape? Kind of like this song. Is it time for stars yet? I think I need a bit more flowers. Let's have a few stars. I deserve a few stars. I'm not gonna use these this way, I'm just gonna do a quick test. I think it might be interesting to have these sort of... I don't know if I have space for it. The thing is, I like this sort of like woodblock style clouds, but they require a lot of negative space to pull off. I have a separate version of the monoline brush where I have spaced out the spacing so that I can get just a simple dot. If I use the normal monoline brush, it will not do a perfect spot because of the spacing. So it's the exact same brush, just with different spacing. Star pillow. I need one in my life. That illustration is really about the star pillow, the underwater house. Only people who saw that video know that this is the real truth. There might be story, architecture, and all kinds of other reasons, but it's really the star pillow. It's the only thing that matters. try and put this in the cup. Just can't seem to make the flipping work for some reason. Not sure about this yet. I'm just gonna not put it there for now. I used to do a lot of watercolor as well. It was basically the only thing that I did all day. Even in school, I would have this water bottle in the pocket of my trousers. It was back when that was acceptable, cargo trousers. And during history class, for example, I would sit in the back and I would have my watercolor painting instead of the book. And I would reach down to my pocket for water with my brushes and I would do watercolor illustrations during class, every class, all the time. I think now I need more flowers. I feel like pink should be a thing that happens here. I have a specific idea for a flower shape for once, and it's this sort of a petal. I need to have it a bit more condensed, otherwise it will be a full half circle. It's going to take up too much space. Maybe this is enough. And then I can move the last one in its place. And now I have the full set. Oh, no, I don't. I'm gonna squeeze this a little tighter still and then get back to this. This would be much easier if I was the type of person who named my layers. I am not, and I'm never going to be. Naming your layers when you use it for like 3 seconds, the whole layer, I think it's just a waste of time. Quick shapes work by just, for example, if I want to do a circle, I just hold the shape or hold the pen on the screen after the shape is done, and then you can edit it. And then on top of the screen you see this edit shape button, and then you can see the convert points. So for a small movement, the shape works like a vector shape. I think I want to have the flower here because it's the ear of the mug, so it's going to work like if somebody put a flower behind their own ear. It's an accessory of this cup. Is 2 enough? Should I think 2 might be enough. For a third one, I'm just going to do... I wish I hadn't deleted the individual petals. Sometimes I need to flip the composition upside down to just see how my guiding lines work or don't work. Do all of my flowers have stems? No, they don't. I think I can use the same layer and then just make a darker version out of this. Maybe bluer. And then use this as a way to paint in the shadows, because now I know what the color is. I don't want to darken the yellow because for some reason the color goes really dirty looking if I do that. Or should I? Maybe it's fine. Just making the shadow bluer here in curves so that I don't get that dirty looking yellow hues. I thought you were going to draw a cookie. Please don't say that. I haven't eaten anything today and it's already 12:30. I have had breakfast. I'm starving. That's one of the reasons why I need to get this stream finished at some point, because otherwise I will just perish. Don't starve the art stream. Also, I haven't bought my turnips today. It's already probably too late. It's a turnip day in Animal Crossing, and I didn't buy my turnips. Damn it. Daisy May is only visiting the town during the morning. Should it go into the cup? I think that could be interesting. Is that safe to drink? It's not my problem. So I'm using this layer as a way to get that clean edge out of the stem. So I'm selecting this, and then I'm going to back to the previous layer, and then using full opacity eraser here. So I only need this edge. I don't need to create a complex layer mask system for it. The turnips are really important to me. I know that everybody is like super excited about Animal Crossing this year, but you have to understand that I have been crazy about Animal Crossing, at least the handheld versions, from day one. And when Switch was announced, I was like, oh my god, there's going to be a handheld Animal Crossing that is going to have awesome graphics. So I have waited for these Animal Crossings since the release of Switch. One more thing that I would love to happen is Switch version of pretty much any, or a new version of Etrian Odyssey game. That would be great. Those are probably like my favorite game series on 3DS. There should be something yellow. Or not like bright saturated yellow, but maybe something like this. Probably it can be like desaturated green to read as yellow, considering there's so much blue. So if you want to create that illusion of complementary color by just using gray tones. You have to know complementary colors. And if it's not something that you get right away, then try not to worry about it. It really is one of the hardest color tricks to pull off. Like even for me, every time I manage to make it work, I feel like the hero of my own life somehow. Actually, I like that accidental two-part leaf idea. If somebody is watching this in the middle of the night, depending on where you're located, the music is probably going to put you to sleep. If I have more sleeping problems, probably I can just watch this live stream. Usually with additive layers you can go with very dark and desaturated colors and still have quite a lot of impact over the hue. I can use the hue saturation slider later, so let's just see where this goes. No, none of this is working. I'm gonna make a duplicate and then blur this one to get rid of some of that very coarse texture. Looks kind of like golden leaves, which I am okay with. To emphasize that effect, I'm gonna add a bit darker shadows. For my next stream, I'm going to have to get a better chair situation happening. Maybe sit in a position where I can actually spend this much time without developing any like neck pain. I think with the previous setup, when I have the tablet on the table, that is the least comfortable way to paint for me, and I do that only to record videos. So this might at least be a way for me to do a live stream, get a video done, and then have a more comfortable working position. Somebody was writing me that like, do you have any tips on like work ergonomics, because I find that I'm getting neck pain from painting. Then I only responded that definitely don't do what I do. It's the worst way to spend your day painting. So get into whatever position that doesn't cause long-term pain. But it is an important question. I remember when I started doing concept art, just painting for so much every day, and I was spending quite a lot of time on the computer too, that maybe it's just the computer usage, but I had this wrist pain that started developing just within the first few months. So I quickly realized that if I'm gonna keep doing this, I'm going to need to find a better way to work. And I switched completely from using a mouse to using a stylus pen to browse the internet and do everything on the computer with a stylus, because that way you don't need to rotate the wrist into an unnatural position. You can keep it like this, because this is flexing the muscle that goes through the wrist. There are also some mouses that you can use in a more comfortable position, so I would recommend finding out about those and at least trying them. They will feel a bit weird at first, and it did feel odd to use the internet with a stylus in the beginning, but now I've been using it for so many years that I just don't have any other options either. Because I know that if I picked up a mouse, it would be easy to continue using internet that way. But I know what the price is for doing that, and I don't want to do that. How do I come up with a color palette? I sometimes, when I don't feel like I have enough time to paint, for example, I use the pocket version of Procreate a lot to make palettes. Like for example, when I'm in a long queue somewhere, like buying groceries or something, I have my Procreate Pocket open and I can do just a palette for myself and see what kind of a color idea would be cool. Or if I see something that has cool colors, I will just like color pick the interesting colors from there and then develop those colors further into a full color palette. All pictures aren't good for this, but I have specific rules that I use for creating my own palettes. I have also made a video on how you can do this. And I sort the color palette swatches in a way that I understand what they are for when I open them later. Because you don't need a tablet to do a palette, you can just do it with your thumb. So you don't need to have all of this equipment for that process. So for this I'm using a darken layer, so that's why these decoration lines only apply to the brightest highlights. I'm gonna try and switch this. I wonder if I can switch tabs without killing the stream. Hopefully. I'm sure there are a lot of like technical stuff that I am going to learn later on how to stream using this system. But as with everything, as with this whole YouTube channel, you just can't start anything in life really without being okay with the learning process, and that means making mistakes. You can watch all the tutorials you want, but at some point you just have to face the fact that you are going to learn as you go. If I didn't have that attitude, this YouTube channel wouldn't exist. And I spent so many years just wishing that I had a YouTube channel, or wishing that I was brave enough to make one. Watching all kinds of tutorials on how you shoot yourself and so on. Didn't help me that much in the end. What helped me is just like starting and learning as I go. Like for example, the audio sync issues, I still didn't figure out what went wrong there. The only thing that I noticed that once I switched the editing software to Premiere, it was a problem that I don't have anymore. But when I was editing just on this iPad, the audio would be in sync in the video. When I watched it, I would upload it to YouTube as private, and then I would watch it and the audio was still in sync, and then I uploaded it, and then a few hours later the audio was off sync, and this went on for years, and I was just going crazy with it, because it was so embarrassing to have all these videos where the audio is completely off sync, and I just didn't know how to fix that at all. how do you learn a new style of illustration? You just start and then you decide that I am going to figure it out. And this is something that I recommend for everybody, because when you're not restricted to one style only, I don't know if that's the reason, but I think it has something to do with why I don't feel like I have these art blocks, because they feel like different artists. This feels like a different artist that I'm doing. By the way, can I show you the painting that I'm working on in this different style? You have been watching this stream for so long that it's okay to do some spoilers. I'm going to be doing this painting later today, and it just feels like I'm not consuming the energy of that painter artist, since this is a different artist that is working right now. So when I get back to that painting, and by the way, I'm super excited to get it done, it just feels like another person is coming to work and this graphic illustrator is going on a lunch break. That way I can get more done and like remain excited about the painting. It might feel at first like you're going out of your comfort zone when you're doing something that is in different style, but eventually that will become your new, that like your comfort zone just expands over time. And then it can feel relaxing. It's not supposed to be an uphill battle. I think if I didn't enjoy doing pictures in different styles, I wouldn't do pixel art, I wouldn't do painterly style or ink things. I would probably still be doing just oil paintings. And I don't want to dismiss it as like oil paintings are not fun to do. They're super fun to do, but if I hadn't experimented with different things, that's the only thing I would be able to do now. Whoops. Alright, I think it's fine. Now that I have more of these elements on screen, I think it's easier to edit the colors, except that I noticed now that the time has completely escaped me again. Maybe I don't have that much time to edit the colors after all. I'm gonna try to get the moon reflection done once again. So that's why I copied that layer. Is it on? Yes. And now I have multiple layers selected, so I'm gonna do this again. Now I just had a weird idea that might work. Let's see. Probably not. So there must be a spoon. Do I have time to make a spoon? The stream has gone for so long that I don't know if I kind of want to at least. I want to see if it will work. Okay, if I want to make this, I need to be smart about it. So I'm gonna do it in bigger shape first, so I see what I'm doing. And then do it as a at least this way I can get it to be more symmetrical. And then a second version of it. I'm gonna use an inverted version just because it's easier to see what I'm doing this way. I'm not going to use this color, but just for editing it's much easier, because if I use the same color I wouldn't see the end result at all. On this mask, what if I do half opacity stroke? So this way I can see that the spoon is kind of sinking into the moon tea. The reflection of those stars, the placement of them is questionable but fixable. Okay, now I can use this same layer mask and then go to black brush, and then I can use the edge of this cup on that layer mask to clean this edge. Done. Now, since it was a clean invert, just inverting that preserves that color. And then I can use a fat nozzle to make some fancy highlights. if you get confused what is happening with the layer shuffles, then don't worry, it's just as confusing for me, or even more so when I'm trying to formulate a sentence at the same time. Somebody bought an iPad because of me. I mean, Apple should pay me a cut. Oh. It's bad enough that I'm not making any money. Apple should sponsor me. I don't know. I know they don't sponsor anybody. But I have probably sold a considerable amount of iPads for them. We have a spoon. I'm glad that I tried that, even though time is limited. It was worth it. I don't mind advertising Procreate. For some reason, it's just I really do like their product, and it's so cheap as well. And they haven't done anything weird with my art with their advertising, because I wish I could say the same thing, but there is one tablet manufacturer that has kind of seen my work and tried to use some of my Twitter posts in their media feed, and I said that I wish that they would fix this feature about your hardware. It's a hardware manufacturer, and it just wasn't great, the interaction. I felt like they are trying to use my art to benefit their business without actually like interacting with their clients, and it just left a bad taste. I know PR is hard, but I think for those big companies, especially the hardware manufacturer that I'm talking about, it's such a big company that it would be in their best interest it would cost them nothing to say that we'll look into it and this sounds like a great product idea. But no, just going for a quick sell in that instance, I think it was just... I used and I still use Photoshop. The only thing wrong with Photoshop is the price. Is the ear in a weird position compared to... Yeah, I have accidentally put it here. This is the plate. So the plate should be underneath all of these. The ear is uncomfortably close to the plate edge. So I'm going to use a warp to just nudge it a little bit. You don't want these sort of edges to be kind of like just slightly touching each other, like either go over or have enough space. But those things really help make any picture better. If you can just make it as easy as possible for the viewer to watch your piece. This sounds dumb, but you always want your viewer to be thinking that I'm good at looking pictures. I know what this is. If you make them feel dumb, or if you make them try to figure out the piece, you're taking away from the potential visual impact that they might have with the first impression. In most cases. Sometimes it's nice that there's a surprise after you keep looking at the piece for some time and then you notice something that wasn't immediately obvious. But in most cases you want the visual impact to be obvious. There's this one edge that has been annoying me the entire time, and I'm going to fix it right now. These might be clouds. Don't worry, I won't leave them over everything. But I need to flip the canvas to see the piece in a more abstract way to make a decision of if I want to have these. I can't be looking at the symbols of the picture. I need to be looking at the shapes without the meanings attached to them. Whoa, not as a clipping mask. And the same thing with the edge here. See, this part now has more space. Affinity is like Photoshop for iPad, but it's not the same. And I'm not saying that Affinity can't get better. They probably are working on updates all the time. And for what it is and the price range, I think it's definitely a better option than Photoshop for iPad at this stage. But both of those still have a long way to go. That's just my opinion of it after testing both of them. I should do a next try on how Photoshop is right now on iPad, because the first time that I used it, it was just rough. I thought that there's no point in me making a review when I honestly didn't have anything good to say about it at that point. It would just seem like I'm hating on a product. And even though I don't agree with all of the business decisions that Adobe has been making, I have given them tens of thousands of money probably for the licenses that I have used over the years. I still recognize that Adobe is a huge company. I know that there are a lot of developers that try their best, and it's not up to them to make these decisions. So there has to be a lot of people that are working hard to make Photoshop the best that it can be. And if we're dumb to assume that the developers are making any of the money decisions, they're not. I'm gonna use a different color for this part because I need to see what I'm doing. If I use the same color, it's just going to be invisible brush strokes, and it's impossible to get anything done that way. So for a few of these clouds, I'm adding this extra layer to get a bit more detail and volume. And now that I have these alpha locked pools, I can use the same shading. Is that my shoes? I think my shoes came in the mail, my running shoes. Okay, should I do a scary flip of the canvas? I need to do accidental notes layer first. Pick a pencil that I can use to make the notes, and then just flip the canvas. Alright, the cup is completely tilted. Dear Lord, it's so tilted. I need to just fix that right away. I need to remember to fix that part of the edge. And then just maybe... Okay, that was scary. But I think that was the worst part. Affinity Designer is a vector program. It's like Illustrator. If you need a replacement for Illustrator, then use Affinity Designer. But if you need a replacement for Photoshop, use Affinity Photo. My boyfriend is Finnish. Yeah, I didn't notice the tilt at all, like at all, during the entire stream. But this is why it's important to leave the flip for the last moments. Otherwise, if you're constantly flipping the canvas, you lose that kind of like fresh eyes perspective that you have to the piece, which is of course the whole point. Same with when drawing people. If you're drawing traditionally, you can just take your drawing and walk, or if you're doing a traditional painting, this is what I used to do with my oil paintings all the time. Pick up your painting and walk in front of a mirror when you have the main elements on the canvas. Then just take notes as quickly as possible. The speed is really important. By the way, you don't see advertisement for a tea ever like this. What you see for advertisement for tea is like this. It's because most people are right-handed, so any advertisement for coffee or tea or any beverage that comes in a cup that has an ear like this, it will be in this position. So to create this effect that you can imagine yourself picking up that beverage to make the advertisement more effective. Pay attention to it the next time you see a coffee commercial. Or if you're
hired to do an illustration for a coffee or tea ad. Now you know. Lefties unite. Yeah. Whoa. These are tough curves in this angle. I know that the stream has gone on super long. I should be quitting soon. But I'm pretty happy with the progress. It's looking like an illustration. By the way, this is a thing that probably I am the only one who gets weird pleasure out of, or it's not something that I recommend to people. But lately I've been super happy with my Twitter feed, and my Twitter feed is fun because nobody's following me on Twitter, so it's like low consequence social media posting there. But my last, I think, 10 posts have all been in completely different styles. So if you were just a random person browsing through it, it would seem like this person has like multiple personalities disorder, and I love it. I think that is so fun. And it's so cool to be able to do that. There's a star that has escaped its order. I guess I could just bring these back behind everything. The people who asked me to schedule my streams, I think now that if I know that this is like a working way to stream, maybe I can just have my system here. Maybe Instagram would be better because on Instagram I can do the timer thing. Maybe I could use that. Because the stories on YouTube, I think they stay for a whole week. That's quite a lot. It doesn't seem like as casual as Instagram stories. when you post a story on YouTube, it's like, okay, are you committed to have this piece of information available for everybody for a week? I don't know. I don't know a week in advance when I'm gonna do a live stream. That's a lot. This is usually the type of color editing that I do after I have finished the stream, and then I return to the piece after a few hours. It's just with a little bit of time you end up usually seeing stuff that you didn't notice before. I think the cup could use one more highlight at the edge. Just to give it that separation, because there are so many lines intersecting with this portion. I do the editing in Procreate. If I have a piece that I'm painting in Photoshop, then I edit it in Photoshop. And sometimes when I'm posting to Instagram, I edit them separately on my phone before posting. I have a separate version of the piece always edited specifically for the social media platforms. So it's not like I'm exporting this into my photo roll and just immediately posting that. there be some kind of smoke still? I promise this will be the last thing that I add. I don't know if I can promise that. It might be the last thing that I add. One thing that I wish that I at least understood why in the blend modes normal is in a completely strange position. Why is it in the middle? That makes no sense. I would think that normal blend mode, I always assume that it is at the top, but that's multiply. Why? So to get this smoke to be in front and behind at the same time, that's the tricky part. But before I get to that, I need to have one copy just for the reflection itself. And I'm gonna put it here. Just so I get that piece of information that I can use. Just drop it immediately. I'm probably not going to need it. At least at this stage I should be working so quickly that it shouldn't be a priority. So I'm gonna put this behind everything first. Let's say here. No. Still blocking everything. Here. Yes. It's kind of better here. No. I made a separate mask that is blocking out these flowers. But I made a mask because I want to kind of like have this impression that the smoke is going at first in front of the flower and then behind it. So this is why a mask will give me more flexibility. Hey Flintbag, thanks for joining us. And now on this layer mask, I'm gonna try to do a fade for transparency. I'm gonna use gray so it doesn't go to full black, but here. Just where I need more of that color information. Actually, I should probably like move this one leaf so that it isn't doing that awkward edge tap. Okay, and then to get the smoke inside the cup, I'm gonna go back to this like backup thing that I had in the beginning. It's here, and out of this layer I'm only going to need the very beginning. So mask, invert, and then on this layer a small gradient. But it needs to fade to complete white so that it joins with the background layer. That wasn't that hard. Maybe this should also have a bit of transparency. Okay, that's tea. I think I'm gonna like add some like more decorative dots later. Should I do it now or after the stream? I'll just do a few. What are you trying to achieve with the gamma changes? Colors that I can be happy about. That's pretty much it. This sort of illustration is pretty much a constant search for the right colors that fit with each other. Because it's always context sensitive. You can't have a system that just is going to work every time. You are going to have to work for it to find those combinations. Okay, and I'm done. This is the final piece for now. Once again, I think these streams are going longer and longer. But this is it for now. Thank you for joining this stream. I hope this method of streaming is working. At least it allows me to work in a more comfortable position. So at least for me, it's better. And I'm gonna read a few of the comments first. I have to say that I love your Procreate process. I like painterly feeling they give pictures. Thank you. I'm really glad you enjoy them. Where do we get these ideas from? Yeah, this is just from insomnia that I've been feeling recently. So that's the idea. Out of pure curiosity, has anyone ever walked in on one of your streams? Well, I have seen that in the chat some people have commented that my bears have been making some uninvited cameos, but that's all that I know. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next video, and you already saw a peek of that what I'm painting, so I'm gonna finish that after this. But now I'm gonna go and eat something. Thank you for joining the stream. I'm going to try and find how to end the stream, because that's one thing that I didn't learn about this whole situation at all. Where is the end stream button? In OBS? Yes? Okay, see you guys in the next video. Go and paint something or have a great day and night. Bye.